thin-section front and rear bumpers leave much to be desired by way of safety. Extra cost bumper guards will almost be mandatory. Moreover, the exposed sheet metal above the bumper can hardly escape being chipped and dented from flying stones, and the first few hundred miles of driving will probably do the damage. The sheet metal below the bumper is laid wide open to damage from curbs and other projections encountered in normal driving. Compare the sheet metal front end of the Corvair to this smart-looking Falcon grille, and there's no contest. Compare the thin-section bumper on the Corvair with this husky deep-section bumper on the Falcon. The Falcon bumper is over 35% heavier in actual weight. And when you remember the Falcon bumpers are designed for maximum impact protection and safety, there's no contest. The Corvair door panels on both the standard and deluxe models are made of unbacked cardboard. Compare this to the tough, durable plastic paneling with metal retainers on the Falcon doors, and there's no contest, especially when you consider the Falcon paneling is standard. But that's just a starter. Upholstery, even on this so-called deluxe interior, is nothing more than inexpensive trim cloth. The Corvair rear seat upholstery is the same material. Seat covers will almost be mandatory to get a reasonable amount of wear. Compare this to the pleated beauty, the richness, and the durability of Falcon's upholstery, and there's no contest. In fact, the Corvair Deluxe interior does not even measure up to Falcon's standard interior.
The Corvair advertises 6-passenger comfort. Granted, 6 people can get in the car, but comfort? There are many limitations. In the Corvair rear compartment, legroom is at a premium, but more importantly, the width of the Corvair rear seat is nearly 7 inches shorter than the Falcon's. Up front, there are even more limitations. One big factor, and it's a design compromise, is the front wheel housing, which juts into the front compartment on both sides, severely restricting legroom. The narrow rear seat and the wheel housings indicate that at best the Corvair is a marginal 6-passenger automobile. That margin cancels itself out completely when considering what Corvair is calling its revolutionary floor-mounted gear shift. 20 years ago, American auto designers found a way to get the shift off the floor for greater passenger comfort. Yet, in this modern age, Chevy eliminates that comfort by putting an outdated gear shift back on the floor. And they call it revolutionary. Actually, the floor-mounted gear shift is a design compromise brought about by the rear engine. Linkage problems forced them to put the standard gear shift lever on the floor. Naturally, with a standard shift, a clutch pedal is necessary. Here again, the Corvair had a problem. Where to put the clutch pedal? The wheel housing prevented normal clutch positioning, so it was just moved a few inches to the right. By placing the clutch pedal almost directly under the steering column, positive clutch operation is very difficult. Difficult when you consider the nominal clearance between the steering wheel and the driver's leg. This clearance between the steering wheel and the driver's leg is a problem recognized fully by Corvair designers. Here's how it came about. To get the low silhouette, the roof was lowered. To get adequate headroom after the roof was lowered, the seats had to be lowered. This put the driver and passengers almost on the floor. At this point, they were working to pretty close tolerances. So close, in fact, that the driver couldn't squeeze in behind a normal-sized steering wheel. So, the Corvair steering wheel was reduced to 16 inches, merely to give the driver some room. Of course, it's a known fact that the smaller the wheel, the more difficult the steering. But something had to give to permit even marginal clearance between the wheel and the driver's leg. In this case, the steering wheel was reduced. No such compromises were necessary in the Falcon. It is truly a 6-passenger car. No bulky wheel housings to restrict legroom. No outdated floor-mounted gear shift to eliminate the comfort of the center passenger. Ample legroom for rear passenger comfort. And more importantly, The Falcon's rear seat is nearly 7 inches wider than the Corvair. Yes, the Falcon is designed for people. 6 big American people. But there are many more Falcon advantages. Getting in and out of the Falcon is easy and dignified. No dogleg, plus chair-high seats and shallow footwells are the important reasons why. These important features don't exist on the Corvair in the front or the rear. Imagine if this woman were not wearing slacks. That's what we mean by dignified entry and exit. The low seat height, minimum of clearance, and the deep footwells all combine to create a real problem. Actually, the footwell depth on the Corvair is over a half a foot compared to 4 inches on the Falcon, a real stumbling block. But there are other Falcon advantages over Corvair design. The Falcon features front door armrests as standard equipment on all models. The Corvair provides front door armrests as optional equipment. The Falcon provides rear seat armrests and an ashtray as optional equipment. Rear seat armrests and an ashtray are not available through production on the Corvair, even on the deluxe model. In addition, the Falcon provides dual sun visors as standard equipment on all models. The Corvair offers a single sun visor. Dual visors are optional on all models. This means that even on the Corvair 700 Deluxe model, there's an additional cost of $10.80 for 3 items that are standard on every Falcon. A right sun visor and a left and right front armrest. A cigarette lighter is tossed in with this $10.80 package on the Corvair. Now, let's consider a simple convenience item. Think of the number of times you've taken off your coat and hung it up in the back of your car. Well, you can still do it in the Falcon because it features 2 coat hooks as standard equipment on all models. The coat of a Corvair owner ends up on the floor because coat hooks are not available on the Corvair. The Falcon features convenient and safe push-button door locks on all models. The Corvair provides door locks on the door opening handles. Unlocking the Corvair rear doors calls for the inconvenience of reaching back and releasing each lock with the door handle. Here's another thing. The only insulation between the inexpensive cloth headliner and the roof is thin asphalt-impregnated paper. Compare this to the fiberglass insulation on the Falcon, and there is no contest. There's also no contest when you compare the full-sized instrument panel on the Falcon with the half-sized panel on the Corvair. This panel is not an integral unit. Accessory items must be hung below the panel itself. Just look at the heater control knobs, for example. They just hang there. Add a radio, and it will just hang there. That's what we mean by unfinished appearance. Shortcuts in design. A side-by-side comparison of the Falcon and the Corvair dash panels is all it takes to emphasize what we mean by Corvair's unfinished appearance. Another big advantage is the Falcon's fast-acting eye-level defrost, with a stream of warm air directed at the upper part of the windshield first. Compared to Corvair's defrost that starts at the bottom of the windshield and works up to eye level, there's no contest. The Falcon's time-tested 4-matic transmission features a park position. The shift lever makes it easy to operate. The Corvair's outdated dash-mounted lever has no park position. To get positive brake action for parking, the canted parking brake handle must be pumped until positive braking is obtained. These are just a few of the shortcuts or design compromises. But the biggest of all are those brought about by the rear-engine drive. The styling of the car itself is severely affected by the rear-engine drive. The box-like rear view with the unsightly louvers is one visible example, but there are hidden examples. For instance, despite the swatch of insulation between the engine and the rear seat, passengers sitting in the rear seat will be subjected to engine heat and noise. This fact was revealed by one of Corvair's own consultants. And how about the engine itself? Corvair states the air-cooled engine eliminated a radiator, a water pump, a water jacket, liquid coolant, and therefore eliminates costly antifreeze. If the elimination of antifreeze is the only justification Corvair can think of for this radical engine design, it would have been better not to say anything at all. Because in eliminating antifreeze in their air-cooled design, a more expensive item was added: the fuel consumption of the gasoline heater, which reduces the gasoline economy of the car. Compared to the Falcon's free heat, there's no comparison. And there are other disadvantages. The Corvair engine has two carburetors. Now, these two carburetors must be in perfect synchronization for efficient engine operation. Another thing, if the engine overheats, there's only one thing to do. The engine must be stopped, and this is critical. The engine must be stopped, and the owner must wait until nature cools the engine in its own good time. There's no other way to do it. Another important point. Except for minor repairs, the Corvair must be hoisted to service or repair the engine from underneath. An example, to adjust the tappets. And with the engine in the rear, there was only one place to put the trunk, up front. But the broken contours, the projections, the spare tire, and the gasoline heater impose severe restrictions on usable trunk space. Here's what I mean. Total trunk space is reputed to be 11 3/10 cubic feet. Now, if you're going to carry water in the trunk, the figure is probably valid, because water will fill all the nooks and crannies. But ordinary luggage isn't built to fit around corners, and with two ordinary suitcases in the trunk, the lid can't be closed. To emphasize the location of the Corvair trunk, just ask your prospect where he might carry his Christmas tree in a Corvair.
Sir, could I sell you maybe a periscope?
Add to this the fact that the Corvair trunk interior is nothing more than painted sheet metal with sharp projections, and you can imagine how the luggage will be scuffed or marred. Further recognition of the premium on stowage space is evidenced by the fact that Corvair has an impractical dust catcher scooped out behind the rear seat for additional stowage. Space here is limited, and if the area is loaded too high, visibility to the rear will be obstructed. If the Corvair buyer wants more storage space, he can buy an optional folding seat for $32. But with the seat folded down, the car is a 3-passenger automobile. Compare Corvair's chopped-up trunk with the Falcon's big car trunk roominess, and there's no contest. Especially when you consider this big 23 cubic foot trunk is lined with durable, easy-to-clean plastic material. We could go on comparing fine broadcloth to a strip of burlap, just as we could go on showing the Falcon's superiority over the Corvair. But why continue to compare something you have to see to believe? These two cars are worlds apart. Let your prospects know just how far apart they are. The all-new Ford Falcon, a car styled around people. 6 big American people. The Corvair, a car that compromised its style for a rear-mounted engine. And in addition to Falcon's product superiority, here's the biggest news of all. The Falcon 2-door is priced a whopping $72 less than a comparable Corvair, and the Falcon 4-door is priced a full $64 less than a comparable Corvair. For quality, comfort, convenience,
Toyota Sienna did better overall in Insurance Institute crash tests than any other vehicle tested, ever.